are now on, and now I can welcome in our guy down from KVUE in Austin, Texas, sports anchor and reporter, a very good friend, Cory. Cory Mose, how are you, man?
What's poppin'? Yo, great to hear your voice too, Ashley. How you doing?
I'm well, man. We're so pumped to have you on. And that's what I want to. So Cory and I go way back. First off, because we were actually
Way back.
interns together. Yeah, now that makes it sound old. Shoot, man. But we were interns together at Fox Sports Southwest in the spring of
I didn't
2019.
know that.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
interned,
gosh.
and our buddy Josh Conrad too, who now works with the Big 12. So
Yeah, shout
imagine,
out.
imagine that the three of us causing
Wow.
ruckus. I don't know how they allowed us all to be in at the same
Chaos.
time. But there's a little bit about Cory. But Cory, anytime that we bring someone onto the show, we love to give you a little bit of a chance to tell us a little bit about your backstory, where you came from, and how you made it down there to KVUE.
Yeah, facts. So I went to UT Arlington, Mav up, you know what I'm
Heck
saying?
yeah. Love it.
Didn't have a football team though, so I
Nope.
wish I would have went to a couple mean green tailgates back in my day.
Correct.
I should have done that. But yeah, so I went to UTA, graduated, got a job out in West Texas, Midland, Odessa, home of the Friday Night Lights, Permian Panthers. Of course, Midland Lee, Midland High, Odessa High, who actually beat Permian
Mm-hmm.
last week. First time in a decade that Odessa High has beat Permian. So shout out Dusty Ortiz, the head coach out there. But was out there for 2.5 years. Eventually, KVU found me on social media on Twitter, and lo and behold, they're like, "You want to come to Austin?" I say, "Heck yeah, I do." Not rushing out of West Texas, but
Yeah.
a little more green out here. Nothing crazy, a little more water out here. So yeah, accepted the job out in KVU about a year ago. July 5th was my first day last year, and now I've been here a year and some change, and just loving it, man. Just loving everything about Austin.
Love that. Speaking of Austin, so when we start talking about regions across the state of Texas, obviously some of them are vast from a geographic perspective. Some of them are vast from just the number of teams that they have. Austin, in particular, in the way that we section it out, with 6A teams, there's 20 different teams in Austin. And what's crazy
Hmm.
is 5 of them are ranked in the top 25. I mean, that's a lot of teams per capita. For only
Yeah.
having 20 teams and 5 of them are ranked teams, that's huge.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just really good pedigree football. And we'll get to some of the more I would consider them newcomers in a minute, but let's talk about the two it girls. All right. Austin Westlake, Austin Lake Travis. Both of those teams have historically forever been the two that are always going to be in the rankings. Not a shocker to see them this year. Both of those teams obviously doing their thing. You don't talk about them much until you start getting into playoffs. But what have you seen from those two teams this year that you've liked so far?
Well, it's just something that we've seen in years past. It all starts on defense, right? These defenses are always going to be shutting teams down out here. They're always going to defend well, and they're going to trust that their offense can put some points on the board. Now, this year has been a little bit different, though. I will say that when it comes to the talent, I would say for particularly that game, Westlake and Lake Travis, when they faced each other, Jack Kaiser was the guy, the man that kind of took over for Westlake, and we're talking about a 5'5", 5'6" running back, taking over for Westlake, and that's something that you haven't really seen in years past. You usually have those big star receivers,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was Garrett Wilson back in the day for Lake Travis, or even last year with Jaden Greathouse, who's balling up in Notre Dame right now, Keaton Quebeca, who's at Kansas right now. They played for Westlake a year ago, and so you always had the guys on the outside that would do some things, but this year's been kind of different, more kind of run heavy. Lake Travis this year has a kid named Nico Hamilton at running back who's stellar. He's trying to stay healthy, but that's been up and down this year. But as I say though, like the running game has been kind of more important for these two teams more than years past, and the defense is always staying strong. So those are kind of like the pinnacles I feel like, and the foundation for these two teams. But man, we talk about these newcomers. Oh man, Vandegrift
Mm-hmm.
is that team I feel like this year.
Yeah, and kind of speaking to that, when we're always talking about the Austin region, you always have to talk about, of course, the It Girls. But like you said, there's been a couple of other teams that have kind of stepped up in the past. Dripping Springs, and last year, Austin
Hmm.
Grant Vandegrift making it to the 6A Division II state championship. How cool is it to see these other contenders kind of step up and compete with the Austin Westlake and the Lake Travises of Austin?
Oh, it's dope, right? Because then it's like you're putting more schools on the map, and
Mm-hmm.
now not only just for high school, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I kind of look post high school, and so when it comes to recruits and when it comes to colleges looking at the Austin region as a whole, it's not just, hey, we're
Right.
just going to go visit Westlake and Lake Travis. Like, no, we have to stop at Vanderbilt. We have to stop at Dripping Springs. Heck, this year you have to stop at Weiss. And they got some ballers out there. And so when it comes to just the culture of Austin football, it's growing, it's notoriety, and it's really cool to see that, man, you have the traditional guys still playing well. You know, it's not like they're falling off. It's just that more schools are now stepping up to the plate and putting on for the city.
Have there been any teams that maybe have exceeded your expectation at all heading into this year? We know we've mentioned it so many times. We know about the Westlake, we know about the Lake Travis, but has there been anybody? And the answer really might be Weiss, because I think they shocked everybody.
That's the person that comes to mind, though.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, they got a new head coach out there. It's Coach Hughes, his first year, and actually we covered a game earlier this year with Weiss, and I asked Adrian Wilson after the game, kid that's going out to Oregon next year. Like, what is the difference, bro? Like, what is the difference from last year to this year? And he literally says Coach Hughes. Like,
wow.
the intensity that he brings, the fire that he brings on defense, and you see it in the way they play. They're flying around, specifically on defense. They are flying around and they're hitting guys hard. And it's really cool. Like, it's really cool to see it. And I'm like, man, y'all just have so much kind of like personality now, you know, and they have an identity on the defensive side of the ball. You know what you're going to do on offense with Adrian and them. You know, you already know they're going to put up points. Jax Brown, the quarterback, he's been slinging the rock around. He has real control of that offense. But on defense, man, they are shutting people down, and they have tested all the Coach Hughes.
Man, it looks like that old Cedar Park, like Black Rain defense. That's what, watching Weiss, that's the only thing that I can keep thinking about.
And Adrian Wilson is a guy that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But what are some of those other guys that you have seen maybe in person this year that have just blown off the doors of the entire region?
Well, you talk about people that came out of nowhere. I kid you not, I have been praising this kid's name since the first time I met him. Damani Stewart from Westwood, running back. If you don't know who Damani Stewart is, oh my goodness, we need to start talking about him. And the reason why you may not know about him, because he just started playing football 2 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, crazy. Now, before I go into his story, let me just read the stats off this year. So he has 1,200 yards on the year already. He's averaging 200 yards a game. He's averaging 200 yards a game with 16 touchdowns. And so, yeah, this kid, he's ridiculous. So he's from Jamaica. He came over, and basically during COVID, he was taking a PE class, right? And he was the only person in the class that was actually doing the workout. You know, during COVID, you're doing a remote PE class. And so no one's really like doing those workouts except Damani. And so the PE teachers were like, hey, you ever thought about like playing football? And he's like, no, but I guess I'll try. He goes out there last year, you know, gets his feet wet. But then this year he put on some more weight, and he is just terrorizing the district. And it's really crazy to see how a kid who just started playing football 2 years ago, and he's been clocked at 21 miles an hour earlier this year, which is legit speed. But I'm more impressed with his power and his balance. He's a very stout back. He has everything. He has patience when he looks through the holes, and when he gets through the hole, he has that breakaway speed. And, you know, his recruitment hasn't been great because he just started playing football, and he's just now getting social media. So he's trying to learn that whole thing, you know, when it comes to recruitment. And so that's why I'm like been one of his biggest supporters, because like this dude can ball. And for him to be averaging 200 yards a game in this district, that's a big deal.
And you said, what year is he?
He's a senior. So like he's having to figure it out on the fly and try to get these recruitments so late because he just started playing football. But man, he's a kid that when you look at him in person, I mean, he passes the eye test of, yeah, he's going to play at the next level because the way he's built. And now you pair that with his speed and just knowing that he doesn't have a lot of hits on his body as a running back because he just started playing. That's also a pro in my mind if you're trying to recruit this kid.
No doubt.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I just been all on Damani Stewart from Westwood, and I think he deserves it because he's a great classroom guy. He's a great leader, but also, man, he is a beast on the field.
Okay, well that's it. We gotta text our director of recruiting, Greg Powers. And he's like, Damani Stewart,
Yeah.
look into it.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. All right, well before we let you go, Cory, this is probably the hardest hitting question. From we put on the hard hitting journalistic hat here, and this is actually fairly difficult considering Austin is the place that we're talking about here. But when we inevitably end up down in Austin, where do you recommend that we go eat?
Wow. Okay.
Like that's
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm actually sitting in the parking lot of Kirby Lane, and I know you know where Kirby Lane is.
Yes.
So I don't want to recommend that. Because I know that's a staple. But man, I'm gonna have to go with Dirty Martin's. Dirty Martin's is another Austin staple, but man, it's been here for nearly 50, 60 years, I believe. I usually go there once or twice a week. I mean, they just have a great menu, vast menu, I should say. And also, Earl Campbell, he goes there every week. So that should tell you like how great it is. Him and his son go every single week. I think every single Tuesday they pull up, and that's their weekly dinner, father-son dinner. And it's a real chill spot. You see a bunch of pictures of Texas football players who've been there in a restaurant, and Arch Manning already has his picture up on the wall. It's like, dude, you just got here. How do you already have your picture up? You haven't played a snap yet for UT, but
he doesn't even go here.
Manning, I guess. And so, yeah, it's just one of those historical places that once you walk in, you're like, man, you love seeing these type of places in communities because it has so much history.
That rules. We'll have to go down there and check it out. Well, he is Cory Mose. He's Lance Pickle's favorite reporter across the state of Texas.
Hey, shout out Papa Pickle, bro.
Let's go.
Oh man.
He texts me frequently, and he's like, "Oh, my boy Cory said this on the news." My boy. So yeah, you have you have one incredibly loyal follower, and his name is Lance Pickle. So Cory, man, appreciate you coming on. Best of luck for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll see you at AT&T Stadium in December.
Yeah, Lord willing, man. I think one of these teams will be able to make it for sure.